Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a quick knife first impression for you. This is from Civivi. As you can see, you are looking at the Hyerpulse. Civivi Hyerpulse. I'm not sure whether or not that's a shockable rhythm, but nonetheless, it's a pretty nice looking folder. Couple things that were really interesting to me about this particular knife. It's been around for a little while, so you're probably already familiar with it. One, the size and weight to blade length was really compelling for me. There are times where I want something light and fairly unobtrusive in my pocket, and this looks like a really great option for that. You know, if you're going to be going running or something like that, you want something that's just barely noticeable. You're wearing track pants around the house on a day off and you want something that doesn't completely make your pants fall down to the ground. This is a really good option. It's still a full-size knife. Or maybe you're just someone who says, hey, I want the lightest, most capable knife possible, and again, this is pretty good. So for that's why I was so compelled when I saw that this was a full 3.5-inch blade in a knife that was although just under 8 inches and under 4.5 inches closed. To me, that was very compelling. So now that I've given you a little bit, let me go ahead and get into some of the rest. There are a bunch of colorways available, green and silver and probably black. And there's a satin blade. I don't know if there's a black blade. There's certainly a Damascus blade. This one is 14C28N, which is great. That's the other thing that really drew me to this knife. That is by a fair margin my favorite budget steel. In fact, I would take that even over some, not so budget steels. If you were to say this knife has VG10 or 154 CM versus 14C28N, I don't know. I might lean to the 14C28N, and that's because number of years ago, I did some cut testing with a Benchmade Griptilian and a Kershaw. Anyway, the Kershaw was 14C28N, like many of them are, and the Kershaw actually held up better. Now, I know edge geometry, all that stuff, there are a number of factors, but let's just say I was really impressed with 14C28N back then, and I have been over the years. All right, so this is 7 15/16 overall. That is very close to 8 inches, but it doesn't quite get there. So if you're one of those guys, for me, 8 inches is kind of the magic number. I'll take something a little bit smaller as long as it's close. And this is like really close, within a 1/16 of an inch. 3.5 inches on the blade length. We've already gone over that. 3 7/8 grip area, which is pretty darn good. Like you can see, even with a full 4-finger grip, there's a little bit of handle sticking out. And that is really impressive for a smallish knife like this. 3 5/16 on the cutting edge here, so a little over 3 1/4 inches, and 4.5 inches closed. And all of that comes in at only 3 ounces. So in addition to these aluminum scales being fairly light already, you can see these giant holes that are here, which does reduce the weight quite a bit. And so very lightweight knife. So I know there's some discussion about a couple of problems with this knife. I'll get into more detail on those, in terms of where the stop pin hits and stuff like that in the full review. I do have some things to say about that. As it stands right now, having just gotten this in hand and being able to, manipulate it a little bit and kind of get familiar with it, the action is spectacular. The ergonomics are really good. The button lock, which is pretty typical for Civivi, and the action with button locks is fantastic. And so, yeah, I'm pretty darn impressed with this. It does have a bent over clip, the typical Civivi bent over clip that is reversible. And a button lock is probably pretty good for lefties. At least when I try to use one with my left hand, it works out pretty well for me. There you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. That's my quick intro to the Civivi Hyerpulse.